All right. So, Rio here. It is week 9, your last attendance for this class. And I just recorded the JavaScript form validation, which is probably not rightly named, but it'll do. It'll do. And I realized that I had to end up recording it twice, is that it's so hard to give an introduction to any kind of programming in 30 minutes. But I at least gave you something. So it'd be interesting to get your feedback about that. But this last week, I always like to start with saying thank you for taking this class. Thank you for your time and attention. I very much enjoy teaching this class. I have been really appreciative of your patience as I re-recorded all the content for this class. It was something that I'd been wanting to do for about 6 months before the start of the semester, and so I did it this semester. And then, as some of you know, my schedule got changed, so recording it became a little more challenging. But there's a couple things. What would I do different? One of the things I would do different is the week that we did Bootstrap, after I recorded all that content for the and went through the Travesty Media videos, which are fine. I found a better video. But that's what happens when you curate. And this is what a lot of what I do is I curate content. I find content and I include it, and when we piece those together in a class. So I really appreciate your feedback. Like at this point, if you feel comfortable enough, you can do it in attendance. If you don't feel comfortable, send it to me directly. If you're not comfortable with either of those things, you can always go out to rateyourprofessor.com, which is totally great. I find those sites helpful at times, but also, sometimes it's one or two students can lean in a direction just because students are often upset if they're posting there, but not always. And I always appreciate students posting whatever feedback, because I want future students to know what experiences you've had in this class. Because my goal, honestly, and maybe this didn't always happen for all students, was for you to have a good experience in this class, for you to feel like, for the most part, you worked on the content rather than to figuring out how to work on the content. I know the whole GitHub thing can be a challenge. I can just tell you that as I hope you continue on with this degree, it will be helpful. So, right? All right, so let's do this. So again, as a reply, putting in any questions you may have, but like course feedback here or anything I'm about to go through. So as a matter of fact, you can see right here is that the first thing is I have a couple of videos about getting your first web developer job. And by no means am I saying after taking this class, and I would preface this by saying not after this class, but if you have experience in this and having taken this class, meaning did you already come in with the experience and then you took this class, then maybe you are. But even if you're not, and this is your class, your first experience, you want to know like some of these fundamental things, like how to gain experience, right? So one of my goals has been in this class for you to get started with some of that experience. Some of you are building portfolio sites. Those are great things to do. And so this first one about just how different ideas, I love this brainstorming idea, because that's one of the frustrations is when I talk to, and I remember back, I know it's been a little while, I had to get my first job, but it was like, how do I get experience? Because everybody wants experience, but I don't have it, and I have a degree, I don't have experience. How do I get it? And I love this video because it gives you that, like, here's some ideas. So you'll do it in a README file. I didn't list. Okay, I'll list the direct. Oh, under lectures, I'll list it, and let's call it first job. I'll put that in the contents, and then have a heading for how to get your first software job, and then mistakes to avoid by junior developers. And that's one thing I've had asked to me this semester is like, what jobs would it be once I get through, let's say, either the AS, right, or the certificate? What I consider in junior developers would be, or entry level developers would be that. Okay, so these two videos hopefully give you that at least context for understanding some of that. And then under the project Zero, I'm giving you kind of one more assignment to help you get some of the work done before the due date on the 9th is like, what is your content strategies, right? So, and I thought about this because depending on what your site is, right? If you're doing an existing or new business, you may have content you could already lean into. If you're doing a personal site, you'll need to write that content. But let me show you what I did in docs.google.com. So set up a doc, and I wanted mostly because I just wanted to do it relatively quickly. And what I did is I changed to where I had an input. So I ended up changing to where I did voice typing. And then what I did there is I just spoke to the computer. I got some basic content and then I massaged it a little bit, not a lot, just so it was easier for me. But for whatever the thing, whatever your approach is, and just know that every page, now the index page needs a little more, but every page needs a minimum of 75 words. So you got to say something there. What's your strategy? Are you going to write it? What are you leaning into? Maybe you're doing a site about a particular person. Are you looking for content around that? So I think the key to this, besides just thinking about that, is continue working on your site. Provide us the URL, the link, right? And then write about an update on your progress, 150 words, no replies on this one. Which, by the way, let me just say, I do take off points if you haven't gotten your site rendered to and this is what we call the root of your URL of the GitHub IO. So if you're still working under the template directory, I do mark off for that. So make sure, because I know we're in week 9, but actually in week 7 that I'm currently recording in, that's one of the things I had you do was actually build that site into what we call the root. So you want to make sure you do that. Okay. All right. So provide us the URL and write that. Now on, let's see, what's the other item? So those are, I think, is that all it? Oh yeah. And then for the last current topics that you have is I found some new content today for this, and we talked about Chat GPT. We talked about Dolly. I had you do one of your assignments just regarding getting introduced to that. But now I want to do just a little more on this because this is going to affect all of us. And having at least a contextual understanding of machine learning, because the way all these things got created was through a process of most likely, because machine learning is a pretty big umbrella under AI, and I just want you to have a little more context. So here's what you want to do is watch. Now you only have to watch, and actually when you click the video, I have it time stamped already. And if you've ever noticed, let me show you what I mean. You only have to watch the first. It's a short section. Okay. So hold on. So and the way I've linked it, it's the intro. And by the way, if you don't know this, right? Lot like the intro is right here. If you click there, it actually is there as well. So you only have to watch until, like, just enough to where you feel like, "Okay, now I know enough about this, I can go do some additional research," right? So, get introduced to more of the concepts of what machine learning is, areas you might wanna focus on, and then go do some more research, like I've had you do almost a whole semester, right? Watch this video, right? Do some additional research and you reply, your thoughts on ML, and then provide us the links as well to what you studied or what you looked at to extend your understanding of what machine learning is. We do have, by the way, here on campus a data science program. If you're interested in that, reach out to me. I can put you in contact, but you can also reach out to Joellen Green, joellen.green at fresnocitycollege.edu. She is the faculty heading up our decision science program, and I believe that they call it data analytics, but it's a beginning of a decision science. And in this video, it gives you that context for what that means. Okay, so that's your last learn together. And then for the last assignments, besides your project 0, right, you'll also and I give you 2 options here, and this is the video I was talking about earlier, where I recorded it twice, is you have 2 options here, right? I walk you through basically on my template. I use my contact form and I just wrote some very simple JavaScript to present back to the web page telling the user, here's what the message was, thank you or whatever. And you'll see that. So you can either write the JS code that I show. I can just tell you, if you do this, your template may have some code that is already. I had this happen in mine where they had some validation code already in the site. I ended up having to go through and comment that out, but then it created other issues. So just know that if you choose this path, you may run into a couple issues. You're more than welcome to ask me, right? Or you can just create a new file. This is just taking notes on the content that I'm covering here, because I do cover some of the major concepts around JavaScript, form validation, really just the language itself, because, and hopefully I'll see many of you in my CIT93 in the fall semester for learning more, because JavaScript is one of the most popular programming languages on the planet. Okay, so now the big one, right? So getting this project 0 submitted. Again, I will say submitting it early is helpful, because I will review it against the requirements, and you don't forget to grade yourself, right? I've gone over these requirements, so I'm not going to do it again. Make sure you have it in the root of your site, in your GitHub IO site. Make sure you have your images, the words, you have a little bit of, the title. You got to have the title for each one, and a little bit of metadata. We've talked about that as well. Again, I said I wasn't going to go over them, and look at me over here going over them. And make sure all your pages work and that the content has been updated. All right. So give yourself a grade. One of the things I do is I go through and I count, can I navigate through your site to see all 21 pages? I'll need to make sure that works, because even if you've created a page but you haven't linked it, I don't consider it a page, because it has to be linked somehow through the menu or through subpages. So make sure that works as well. So submitting early is great. Just to be clear, right? It's due on the 9th. When I wake up on the morning of the 10th, I will accept no more work, which, by the way, also says if you have late work, that's also the last time you can submit late work to me, would be that Thursday night. Because I wake up on Friday, get all the grades ready, and submit them into to the campus. So I wouldn't wait. If at all possible, work ahead on this last item, so that if you have things you want to correct that I have reviewed, give me enough of a heads up. Because if you reach out to me Thursday night at like even 8 o'clock and say, hey, could you look at my site? I'm probably not, but you could go on Discord and maybe ask one of your classmates that might be able to help. But if it's during the day, for sure, ask me. But if you're waiting until that Friday morning, it's really too late to ask me to review that, or ask me. I will grade whatever I find on the morning of the 10th. Otherwise, that's what I will submit. Okay? All right. Thank you so much again. Have a good rest of your fall semester. I got this wrong somewhere. Anyway, have a great rest of your semester. I know some of you will continue on in the 85, which I got to figure out exactly how I'm going to handle that class. It's part of why I'm trying to get content ready for this class and done, so I can start working on that one. And of course, if you're in 93, we're not done. And have a great whatever it is you're doing next. I look forward to connecting with you. If you're not on Discord, still consider getting on there. It's a great way to reach out to myself and other students in these classes. All right. Peace out.